Welcome to Alive and Well, the podcast for the new era of high achievers. You're done burning out, and you're ready to lead, work, and live in a rhythm that honors both your brilliance and your body. I'm your host, Michelle Grosser. I'm a trial attorney turned nervous system strategist, and I've lived the burnout story. I know what it's like to chase your goals at the expense of your well-being. And I also know it doesn't have to be that way. Here, we're redefining success. It's where productivity feels peaceful, boundaries feel like freedom, and energy comes from within. Each week, I'll share practical tools for nervous system regulation, time mastery, and somatic strategies so you can show up with clarity, calm, and confidence in every part of your life. Because you, my friend, were given a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. So here's to life and living it fully. This is the path to feeling alive and well. Let's dive in. Hey, you're listening to Alive and Well. It's Michelle here. Welcome. On the show today, we're going to talk about joy. And as I'm recording this, or if you're listening live too, it's December 23rd. So we're right before Christmas, in the thick of the holidays. But I think this applies regardless of what season it is. Because if you're listening, you can probably think, or at least I'll speak for myself, I can remember back to certain seasons in my life or certain events. And knowing intellectually that this should be bringing me a massive amount of joy, right? Something with my kids, being with extended family, traveling, what have you. But for whatever reason, in those moments, joy felt really hard to access. And for me, this brought up so many questions. Like, what am I doing wrong, right? What's wrong with me? Am I just like a curmudgeon? Like, why can't I just feel happier? My life is so good on paper and in reality, and I'm grateful and I love my people. But why does it still feel like drudgery, or why does it still feel heavy? And if that's you, if you've been in seasons like that too, I just want you to hear me. And it's not that you're ungrateful, and it's not that you're bad at joy or unhappy. It's not that you're missing some magical mindset hack out there that everyone else seems to know. In a lot of cases, and I bet this would be true for you too, what you are experiencing is actually much more biological than just like a mindset hack. You probably are living and have been living with chronically elevated cortisol, and your nervous system is quietly shifting into a mode where joy is just really hard to access, right? Not because you're not trying hard enough, just biologically, physiologically, even when good things are happening. So I kind of want to walk through that today. I want to share a little bit about the science behind high cortisol and low mood, because I think sometimes understanding the why, at least for me, it helps me to reach a place of self-compassion. I'm like, oh, that's why this is happening, right? This is why I feel like I feel. Not just that I'm a jerk. And then I want to go through what I think are some of the symptoms, right? It might feel weird or sound weird, but they're really specific signs that your stress chemistry is blocking your ability to feel joy. And then I want to give you some shifts, right? I want to give you some handles that you can walk away with, somatic tools to help to start to shift it in the opposite way, right? So your body can actually start to receive all of the goodness that's already in your life. And if you find yourself nodding along as I go through this, right? Or maybe you already are, you're stuck in this cycle of stress and just kind of feeling flat and disconnected or annoyed or irritated or edgy. And it's the holidays and you're like, man, what? This is how it's supposed to be. This is exactly the work that we do inside of Burnout Recovery Blueprint. And I'll share a bit more about that later in the episode. But let's start with the science now. So here, I think when most people talk about cortisol, when we think about cortisol, we're really quick to just be like, oh, that's our stress hormone. And that's true, but it's true only in part. It's incomplete. Cortisol has a lot of benefits. There's a lot of reasons why we need a healthy relationship with our cortisol levels. Cortisol is what brings us into consciousness and wakes us up in the morning. Cortisol is our mobilizing energy, right? So we can feel motivated and energized to do things and get things done and perform and show up when we need to. Cortisol helps us respond to short-term stressors, right? So if there's that thing that is on your calendar later today or tomorrow or, early next week, you need a certain level of cortisol. You need your body to be able to press the gas pedal to do the things that need to be done so that you can show up, right? And that you can handle those short-term stressors. We also need cortisol to help us recover after, right? After a challenge, after a short-term stressor. So it's not that it's always this villain. The problem isn't cortisol itself, right? We need cortisol. It's that for so many of us, cortisol is not being used, created, processed, metabolized in the way it was designed. We have chronic levels of high stress, which equate to chronic elevated cortisol levels. So what do I mean by that? When your body never really feels that it's safe enough to just step back, chill out, right? Relax, be okay. We're good. We don't have to be going right now. Our body never really gets to come off of that just in case setting. So, the ongoing mental load, the constant multitasking, all of the tabs that are open in your brain, right? The emotional caretaking, your kids, your partner, maybe your own parents, people in your community. Maybe it's unresolved grief and trauma. Maybe it's health issues. Maybe it's financial pressure. Maybe it's relational issues. Maybe it's work demands. Maybe it's just parenting on top of all of that. Whatever it is, your nervous system is constantly scanning. Your nervous system is constantly thinking, I have to stay ready, right? I have to be on alert. I have to stay on. And over time, that's chronic stress, and it changes the way that our brain, one, processes rewards. So nothing feels as good as that first time that we actually accomplish something and we get that hit of that dopamine reward, right? It alters our sensitivity to pleasure. So everything just kind of feels a little bit more flat. It makes us more vigilant. It's really hard to experience high levels of joy when you are on alert and you are looking for danger and waiting for the shoe to drop. And it slowly shifts us into what we call this state where joy just feels blunted, even when everything in life is great. The parts of your brain that are impacted by long-term high cortisol are hippocampus. So that's your memory. That's your learning brain. Your prefrontal cortex, we talk about that a lot on this show. That's also impacted by long-term high cortisol levels. So it affects your clarity, your decision-making, your impulse control. But here's what we're going to talk about today. Your reward circuitry in your brain, right? The payoff for doing challenging things is impacted by long-term high cortisol levels. So your motivation is impacted. Your pleasure, i.e. joy, is impacted. Your anticipation, right? I'm talking about the good kind of anticipation, feeling excited about something. The night before Christmas anticipation is impacted by long-term high cortisol levels. So if you've been feeling less motivated lately, flat, numb, less able to look forward to things, the things that used to excite you or feel fun, really don't anymore, there's just a good chance it's not a you issue. And when I say you, I'm talking about attitude and character. I'm talking about chemistry. It's a nervous system that's just been in survival mode for far too long. And I think so often, the women that I work with rarely come to me and are I think my cortisol is dysregulated. Some of them do, right? And they've done their research and they've identified the problem and they're coming to me for the solution. But what I hear so often, so much more often than, my cortisol is dysregulated, is I just don't feel like myself, right? I don't know how to fix this. I don't feel excited about anything anymore. It's really hard to access the joy that I feel like I should be feeling, right? That I know is there. So let's talk about what this can look like in real life and, just do a gut check, see if any of these resonate with you. But here's one sign that high cortisol is blocking your joy. Good things are happening. Intellectually, you realize, you can recognize, but they just feel distant. So on paper, it's a good thing, right? Your kids, sharing in something that they've accomplished. Maybe it is a vacation or a trip you've planned. Maybe it's a date night with your husband. Maybe it's someone gives you a compliment, or you get that promotion at work, or your kids just you catch them in a moment where they do something that's so kind and generous and sweet, and you can see the fruit of your hard work paying off, and you can intellectually understand and recognize this is really good. But instead of it landing with that bubbly joy in your chest, it almost lands like a notification, like you just got an email of something good, right? And it's not that you're able to experience the goodness and the joy of it. And then for me, that even just even feeling that brought on a sense of guilt, because I'm like, man, why am I not more excited about this? Right? Why can't I let this soak in and enjoy and appreciate this? And it was a disconnect. It was a disconnect between what I knew in my brain to be good and then what I could actually feel. And guys, this is so often a sign that your nervous system is it's in a protection mode. So that's one of the signs. The second sign that your high cortisol might be blocking your joy is that you plan so much for things that should be fun, right? You're signing up and planning for the party or the dinner or the event or the vacation or your kids' outing, whatever it is. And then in the moment of planning, you're getting really excited and you're like, man, this is going to be so fun. I love planning this. I'm organizing it. I'm putting together an outline or a list or filling my Amazon cart, or I'm making a spreadsheet about what we're going to do on vacation, and it's going to be great. And then as it gets closer, right? The dinner you're planning on hosting that you were really excited about last month when you invited everyone, or the event or the trip. And, it starts to feel heavier, right? As it gets closer, and maybe you're like, man, could I get out of this thing? You fantasize about canceling. All of a sudden it feels like, man, now this is just another stressor, and you feel resentful that you have to pull this thing off, or you actually have to go. And the logistics just start to feel insurmountable. And it's not you being antisocial. Again, it's just a little red flag that high cortisol is now blocking your joy, right? High cortisol, an overloaded system, associating one more thing with a stressor and with a threat, instead of being able to experience it as delight. A third sign that high cortisol might be blocking your joy is that you, and I've been here, and this is so unfortunate, but it's reality. You actually start to feel more irritable and edgy with the people that you love the most. And you feel more irritation than delight and joy with and around them. In those seasons of burnout for me, I knew, right, in the depths of my soul, in the deepest parts of me, how much I loved my husband and adored my kids. And I wasn't confused about my relationships. And yet those were the same people that I snapped at faster, right? That the small things that they did set me off, that I just felt touched out or peopled out or requested out, right? And I really struggled to access softness around them and joy around them. And it's not that, it had nothing to do with how much I loved them. That love was there. It's that my window of tolerance, my ability, my capacity, my bandwidth was so narrow. It was tiny because my nervous system was so busy managing so much internally and externally that I just didn't have the capacity to show up as the version of me that I had been previously, right? That I knew I could be in calmer seasons. So if that feels true for you, that you're like, man, why is it like that the people I love the most are getting the edginess and the irritability and, I'm just annoyed and I'm snapping. Again, it's physiology, right? It's not like you need to, try harder. It's your nervous system. The fourth sign I want to talk about that high cortisol might be blocking your joy is that maybe you can't remember the last time that you laughed from your body. I'm not talking about smizing, right? When your eyes kind of crinkle. I'm not talking about a little chuckle. I'm not talking about like a forced thing when, your kids are, telling you like the 14th knock knock joke and it makes no sense. I'm talking about the real, like, can't contain it cackle, like the shoulders shaking, the tears in your eyes, like hard to catch your breath, laughing so hard your cheeks hurt kind of laughing. And you've been there, you've experienced that, you know what I'm talking about, but maybe you genuinely can't remember the last time that you did that or felt that. And it's not because, nothing funny is happening lately. Again, it's a state of your nervous system. You're stuck in a place that will always prioritize your safety. So if there are constant stressors and your body subconsciously feels like it's in a constant state of protection, it will prioritize the things that you need to stay safe over the things that you need to enjoy your life. Your nervous system does not care if things are funny or not. It cares that it is, scanning the room and making sure that nothing's going to happen that you haven't anticipated and are prepared for. It's going to turn on all of its predictive models and try to figure out what's going to happen next so you can be prepared and you can survive, right? It's going to be bracing. It's not going to be letting go into full belly laughter because that doesn't feel safe when you're stuck in fight or flight. And high cortisol keeps you in that readiness state, right? Bracing state. It keeps you in the place of like scanning and making sure everything's done and everything's good and everything's ready. And it's really hard to be receptive to deep levels of joy and laughter in that state. So it's not about overhauling everything. It's just, how do I shift my nervous system out of fight or flight so I can be more receptive to actually feeling and experiencing all of the goodness around me. Number 5, the fifth sign that high cortisol might be blocking your joy. And this is for me is probably one of the earliest flags when I'm starting to like be operating beyond my capacity and pushing the edges of my bandwidth. And it's this: everything just feels like one more thing that you've got to get through, right? Everything just feels like, add it to the to-do list. I'm going to get through this. I'm pushing through, when it gets to the weekend, I'm going to rest. And I'm talking about little things, answering a text, right? Sometimes that feels like the weight of the world and I'm procrastinating on it. And I'm like, man, I know this is going to take me like 17 seconds to respond to, but for some reason, I can't bring myself to do it right now. For me, red flag. You need some space, girl. You need to bring some safety to that body. Planning a meal, right? Scheduling something for yourself, making appointments for others, opening your inbox, just getting ready, getting dressed in the morning. And you just hear yourself being like, all right, just one more thing, right? And I think for so many of us, that's a tell. And it's our nervous system saying like, hey, we're maxed out. We're at capacity. We don't have room for this. Even if what we're trying to add, we know conceptually, intellectually that it's small, it's quick, right? Maybe it's even good, but it's so hard to move it forward because everything feels like one more thing to get through. And then finally, the last sign I want to talk about that high cortisol is blocking your joy is that when you finally do get that block of time that's just for you, so maybe it's the end of the day where everything's like kind of done and winding down and the kids are finally in bed, your default during that space, during that block of time, during that downtime is more numbing than it is nourishing. So you get to the end of the day and your system is done. And it's not done in this soft, like, I'm ready to rest way. It's kind of done in this like glazed over, one eye open, one eye like squinting, like I've got nothing left kind of way. And in that state, sometimes the only things that feel possible are, zoning out and spacing out in front of a show, scrolling, late night snacking, just doing mindless stuff. And again, this is not like a character, discipline, motivation, moral issue. It's what a nervous system and survival is going to reach for. Low hanging fruit, right? Low effort, high distraction, hits of dopamine. But the reality, and I don't need to tell you this, you already know, is that none of these actually restore our joy. They're distractions, right? And they're distracting us from how depleted we feel. And if you're hearing any of this today, I want you to know, I guess this is the big takeaway, right? There's reasons for all of this. And the good news is that your body is not stuck this way. This is not just how you are. This is not just who you've become. You're the grumpy mom, the one who's just like ordering everyone around, making sure all the T's are crossed, but doing it in like a really edgy and irritated way. It's not you. You don't have to be stuck like that. We can shift it, right? I've shifted it. I've helped hundreds of women shift out of this state, and it's somatically. If you guys have been around in my world, you know that's my go-to. Mindset alone isn't going to help you access joy, because when your cortisol has been elevated for a long time, your nervous system's adapted to that. It thinks that that's normal. Your baseline is high stress. When you're in that space, you cannot think your way into joy. You cannot think your way into regulation. You cannot think your way into rest, not sustainably, because your prefrontal cortex, that part of your brain that does mindset work and affirmations and reframes and all of that stuff, I love it, but it's sitting on top of a physiology that's still in survival. So if you have tried ad nauseum gratitude practices and you've made all of the lists and you've tried journaling and you've tried positive thinking and, choosing joy, and maybe in the short term for a day or so, you're like, okay. But then all of a sudden it's like, it's not really landing. And it doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. It just means your nervous system is the foundation. It needs support first. And that's why I always teach somatic work, body-based practices, because one, they help discharge built up stress. They engage your vagus nerve. That's your body's primary regulation pathway. And then when we do somatic work, you're actually giving your body, your system, this clear signal like, hey, we're not in immediate danger. We can relax, chill out, enjoy, have fun, laugh, right? You cannot tell your body to do that because your body doesn't speak a verbal language. Your body has to experience safety. And when we do somatic work and bring safety to our body in an experiential way, it widens your window of tolerance so much that there is space for connection and pleasure and joy to feel safe again. And stay tuned, because coming up, depending on when you're listening to this, but if you're listening live, in early January, I'm hosting a live experience. It's free, and I'm calling it Experience the Shift, because I want you guys, I don't want you to learn more stuff. I don't want you to gather more information. I don't even want you to really understand more. You get a ton of that already from the podcast and the books and Instagram and like everywhere else that we gather information. I'm talking about experiencing the shift, right? What does it feel like in our body to discharge built up stress, engage our vagus nerve, and widen our window of tolerance, giving our system this clear signal, it's okay to feel joy. Somatic work doesn't just create joy out of nowhere. It removes the blocks, you guys. It removes the survival patterns, the fight or flight, all of those adaptations that are brilliant in the short term, but are not sustainable in the long term, that have been sitting on your joy, blocking your joy. So make a mental note, stay tuned. If you're not on the email list, jump on it. If you are, keep an eye out. If you listen to the show, keep an eye out. But I want you to come to this Experience the Shift that I'm doing in the beginning of January. And I also want to leave you with a few simple somatic ways today that you can start working with your body around this. So not quick fixes, not like signals, repeated signals to retrain your system. Do them 1 minute at a time, right? Super simple, 2 minutes at a time. It's all you need. So here's the first thing. You're going to give your body a daily, like I see you moment. I've got you, girl. Daily moment of that, right? Once a day. Maybe it's in the morning. Maybe it's while you're brushing your teeth. Maybe it's while you're making lunch. Maybe it's in the car. Maybe it's, while you go on your walk. Maybe it's when you take the dog out. Maybe it's when you're changing a diaper or making your bed. Place a hand on your chest. Place a hand on your belly. 30 seconds. Just notice. How are you breathing? Even just right now, if you can. How are you breathing? Is your breathing short? quick, shallow, deep, slow? Is it staying in your chest? Is it going down into your belly? Is it through your mouth or your nose? Just noticing. Where are you holding tension? Is it between your eyes, your jaw? Is your tongue pressed to the roof of your mouth right now as you're listening? Right? What does your body feel like right now? Tiny acts. We call this interoception. Tuning into those internal sensations. Just noticing, not even fixing. Notice I didn't say breathe like this. I said just notice. Just tuning in to internal sensations tells your brain, someone's home, right? I'm not just a machine today. And it sounds small, but it isn't. It brings safety to your body. Second, have used a nervous system reset. And I hate that word reset, right? Maybe hate strong, but I don't really think that's what it is, right? We don't really reset our nervous system, but we can just bring awareness to it and we can help bring a shift. When you notice numbness in particular, numbness is often a dorsal response. So it's our body's freeze response. It's our system's way of saying whoa, that was too much. I'm tapping out, right? I'm going to shut it down. And when we catch ourselves feeling like joy is hard to access, we're feeling flat, we're feeling checked out, coming into the body and bringing a subtle shift can help us gently transition out of that place of feeling really numb. So maybe it is a slow physiological sigh, right? Inhale through the nose, another quick sip of air through the nose, and then a long, slow, extended exhale through your mouth. Doing that a couple times. In through the nose, another quick breath of air, and out through the mouth. Purse your lips. Nice, long, slow, extended exhale. Really focusing on extending that exhale. What if you did that for 30 seconds, right? What if you just started shaking out your arms and your hands and your legs and your shoulders? What if you just looked around the room and started orienting yourself to your environment and bringing awareness into your senses in the present moment, right? What do you see? What can you hear? What can you taste? What can you touch and feel? Not to force joy. You're just reminding your system, this is the foundational work, that it's safe to not be on alert and on edge and to come a little more online and make space for joy. And then finally, I think can we pair small pleasure, micro moments of pleasure and presence? Because high cortisol, I think more than most things, will train your system to rush and then rush past the good, right? How often do you go through your morning and then you find yourself at the office or the chaos part of the morning is over and you're like, man, I had a morning coffee or a morning tea. I showered. I let the dog outside. I made breakfast, whatever you did, but you weren't actually there, right? You didn't notice the warmth of the sun on your face. You didn't notice the smell of that cup of coffee. You didn't notice, that warm water hitting your skin or, whatever it was. What if you could start to train yourself in micro bursts, right? I'm talking 10 seconds, 20 seconds, full presence with something that is joy bringing, joy filled, pleasant. It sends such a powerful message. Good things are happening, right? I'm allowed to notice them and experience them and be here for them. And these are the kinds of micro practices that work, not because they're cute, because it's in this consistent repetition of noticing that literally rewires your brain's expectation for how safe joy can be. And as you start to come out of emergency mode, gently, slowly, patiently, you notice shifts, right? You're going to laugh more easily. I promise you. I'm a walking, talking testimony about this. You're going to look forward to small things again. You're going to feel less dread in the morning. You're going to have more energy for connection. all of that, like one more thing, just got to push through, just got to make it to X. That will all soften. You can take compliments, you can take good news, and you can enjoy it more fully. It doesn't mean your life becomes stress-free. That's fantasy. It means your nervous system is no longer interpreting everything as a threat. And in that space, in that margin, in that safety, joy becomes accessible again. So if you've been listening today and you're like, this is me, she's talking to me, right? It's not like crisis, but I know that something is off, right? I know that on my one trip around this thing, I want to experience more joy. I want to be more joyful. I want to share joy with the people that I love, and I feel off. My life is full in all good ways, right? But I feel flat, tired of living like this. Guys, that's exactly who I built Burnout Recovery Blueprint for. It's my group program. It's for high capacity women ready to stop living in chronic survival mode and start rebuilding their lives from a regulated nervous system, sustainable capacity, real joy. And inside of BRB, I'm going to teach you to work directly with your nervous system. It's foundational. It's where we start. We spend a whole month there to help you understand your patterns, how you're responding and coping with stress, so we can evolve that. I'm going to teach you somatic tools that you can use in the middle of real life. I'm going to help you create structures in your day that will make joy feel possible again, not just like productivity hamster wheel. I'm not just trying to help you get more done. I want to help you restore your ability to feel alive in your own life again. And our next cohort, it starts in mid-January. If you're feeling that tug, right? If something's drawing you towards this, this is your next step. This is going to be your big thing in 2026. Sense that something has to change, right? I would love to invite you to join us. I'm going to put the details in a link in the show notes. But I just want to leave you with this today. If it feels far away right now, I just want to encourage you, because it doesn't mean that it's gone. It doesn't mean you've lost it. It doesn't mean it's inaccessible for you forever. It doesn't mean you're incapable of feeling it. It just means more likely than not that you've been carrying too much for too long, right? Your body's been doing its best to protect you, and there's no shame in that. Our job is to we can be grateful for it. We can support it. We can give your nervous system enough safety that joy doesn't feel like a risk, right? That something bad's not going to happen if we allow ourselves to experience joy. You, my friend, are allowed to feel good in your life. Not just proud of the things that you're doing and accomplishing and checking off, but present for it. And I'm so glad you're here. And I'm so glad you're doing this work. And I'm so grateful for y'all. I love you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
If you love Mommy's Podcast, leave a review.
Thanks for listening to Alive and Well. If today's episode resonated, would you do me a favor? Take 30 seconds and leave a 5-star rating and short review. It really helps to get this show out to other people just like you who could also use the information in this podcast. And if you're ready to take the next step in regulating your nervous system, download my free Nervous System Reset Guide. It's linked right in the show notes. Inside, you'll find simple, body-based practices to help you feel more clear, calm, and connected starting today. Make sure you're following the show so you don't miss out on what's coming next, because you were made to thrive. Fully alive, fully present, and fully well. I'll see you soon.